Great. Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Nurse Practice Committee meeting being held today on Wednesday, January 22nd at 9 a.m. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order at 9:01 and establish a roll call for quorum. Neelu Patel here as chair for the committee, present. Jovita Dominguez.
Good morning, Jovita Dominguez. Happy New Year, everybody.
Okay, and we have Trisha Wynn. Are you muted, Trisha?
Trisha is not part of this
Oh, I'm
committee.
so sorry. I read her on the screen, but you're right.
Sorry, it's only
how about
Vicky,
President?
Jovita, and you. So we
Yes.
don't need to call quorum.
Vicky.
I mean, that's the entire people. So pretend
Okay.
everybody else that are on the call are not here. They're waiting for the next committee.
Got it. So we have Vicky Granowitz.
Yep.
Vicky Granowitz is here.
Thank you. Yes, I was reading down on the list, but thank you. Okay, so quorum is established, as you said, and we can go ahead and open it up for public comment. So BRN moderator, please open up for public comment on
Okay.
agenda item 2.0.
Let me do some house cleaning real quick.
Yes.
Good morning. This is the BRN moderator. I will be moderating the meeting. To facilitate public comment, we will be utilizing the WebEx question and answer feature. When the committee reaches a point in the agenda at which public comment is appropriate, the question and answer feature will be turned on, and members of the public can indicate they would like to make a comment by inserting the phrase, "I would like to make a comment," in the question box, which is typically in the lower right of your screen. We will also query the physical location, the Sacramento public location. I will then call on the individual and unmute their microphone. The individual will have 2 minutes to make their comments. I will not give a warning as your time approaches. I will mute your microphone and will announce that your time has exceeded the time allotted. I will then proceed to the next member of the public who has a comment. Please note that the question and answer feature is being used only as a means for members of the public to represent that they would like to make a verbal comment. When your turn comes, you will be prompted to unmute. If your question can be answered, the committee will respond accordingly. When making your comment, speak about anything you believe is important for the members to know. Remember, committee members cannot address any item not on the agenda. Items not on the agenda at that moment, items that you would like to add to a future meeting, or items that will be discussed later on the agenda will be discussed at their correct times during the meeting. I will provide a brief reminder of this approach at the start of each public comment item. Finally, when committee members or BRN staff are not speaking, I would like to remind them to mute their microphone. If I detect background noise during the meeting as a result of unmuted microphones, I will mute your microphone automatically. Now we can open up for public comment. We will be opening for public comment now. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate that they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember, you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment."
Yeah, just a reminder today as we're opening up to public comment that this is for items that are not on the agenda. And this specific committee meeting is the Nurse Practice Committee meeting. Any other public comment that you may have for the Education Licensing or the Enforcement, Intervention, and Investigation Committees, we request that you please hold them for those committees.
Nurse 117 would like to make a comment, please.
The enforcement section, so I'll hold till then. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you for your comment. Clifford Ray Suda would like to make a comment. 1 second, please. Clifford, on your computer, there's a box that pops up. It's really small, and if you have everything open, it's behind it, and it'll say unmute me. There you go.
I am financially, physically, and emotionally depleted from having to participate in a program that makes no rational sense and goes against my core beliefs. I gave up my nursing job search 10 months ago to free myself from emotional trauma of constant rejection due to program requirements. The daily turmoil of why I'm in this program haunts me. I'm now working 3 jobs to survive, driving Uber, Lyft, and I work as a customer relations agent 32 to 40 hours a week to prevent a sentinel event in my life. How can one be understood and supported by an entity when they have never met or connected by Zoom, having a phone conversation for less than 60 minutes over a 20-month period? One of those conversations included being asked, "How long ago were you incarcerated?" False accusation. The only Zoom interaction occurred during 2 interrogations with the board. I received an email from this organization stating to volunteer or face disciplinary action for having changed in a medication order, which is against the Nurse Practice Act. Trusting in the regulating body of my profession and the experts in my field, I accepted this invitation. It is only through positive affirmations and dialectical behavioral therapy I'm able to manage life. So thank you for letting me share my experience with the diversion aspect of the Maximus Recovery Program.
Thank you for your comment.
And just a
Paradise.
reminder, this is the Nurse Practice Committee. We do welcome public comment for items not on the agenda, but we do ask that if you are here for the Enforcement Investigations Intervention Committee, which includes our diversion program that was referenced in the prior public commenter, we ask that you hold public comments for that specific committee to be opened up and items to be heard at that time. Thank you.
Paradise would like to make a comment. 1 second, please. Paradise, on your computer, a small box opens up. There you go.
Camera work, so it's not just a black square.
Is what? I'm sorry.
Can somebody like turn on the camera block so that you guys
No,
can
we don't. We don't allow camera for comment.
Oh, okay. All right, so I just because it has to be under 2 minutes, I typed out this. The current, and this is regarding probation, the posting on the Breeze and stuff. The current rule since 2020 is that anyone with a dismissed charge or expunged conviction and or a misdemeanor conviction older than 7 years at the time of the submitted application will not have any action taken against them. However, those of us who met this criteria before then are still dealing with the quote unquote indefinite online Breeze and Nurse's public record of our dismissed charges, expunged convictions. In my case, these charges, convictions are 20 years old when I was a literal teenager, long before I dreamed of being a nurse. As a result, for years, we have been and continue to be denied higher education opportunities and job opportunities in a safe working environment. I would like to put this on the next agenda to see if we can apply the current standard to old cases. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Survivor would like to make a comment. 1 second, please. Oh, Survivor does not have the ability to, I don't see a microphone or anything. Survivor, are you signed on and called in or just signed on? I don't see that you have a microphone.
And we're asking for you to type that into the comments just because we're seeing that you don't have a microphone available to you. So if you can type that in, that'd be great. And I do want to put out another reminder that this is the Nurse Practice Committee. Although being not held on the same day as the Education Licensing Committee and the Enforcement Intervention and Investigations Committee, it is the Nurse Practice Committee. And we do welcome, you can wait for enforcement. Thank you, Survivor. And so we do welcome public comments at all of our committees, but we do want to make sure that it is appropriately directed. And so if you have comments for the Nurse Practice Committee, please continue. If not, we do ask you to wait for the appropriate committee of Education Licensing or Enforcement Investigations and Intervention Committees. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any, I'm sorry. Uh, Committee Chair Patel, there are no other public requests for comments on the WebEx. We have no public requests for comments on, in our Sacramento public location. We just had a question though that says, what time is the Education Committee meeting?
It should be fairly soon. We have a very short nurse practice agenda. So pending public comments, that will dictate the time. I would expect that ELC would be about 10 o'clock, if not a little bit sooner.
Thank you. Committee Chair Patel, would you like me to close this window?
Yes, please. Thank you, BR moderator. We do run an efficient meeting here, so I think that's about accurate timing. Fantastic. So we'll move on to agenda item 3.0, review and vote whether to approve the previous meeting minutes from October 17th. I have reviewed the minutes myself, so I'll go ahead and take roll call, and Neela Patel, vote yes. Jovita Dominguez?
Neela, we need to
Oh.
take a motion first. So you'll need a first and a second.
Forgot, sorry. Okay, possible motion, a motion to accept the Nurse Practice Committee meeting minutes from October 17th and allow the BRN staff to make non-substantive changes to correct name misspellings and or typos that may be discovered in the documents. May I have a motion, please?
This is Vicky. I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Vicky. May I have a second?
Jovita seconds.
Thank you. And do we open for public comment?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
And then just so that you're
Yeah.
aware, you can make the motion. You don't have to have somebody motion that. So as you're reading it, you could say, I'd like to make the motion to accept. And
Great.
then Vicky could come in second or anything at that point. So yes, we can go out to public comment now.
Okay, thank you. It's as if I forgot everything from the first time, didn't I? Okay. BRN moderator, may we open for public comment, please?
We will be opening for public comment now. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. Whoops, bit too fast there. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, I would like to make a comment. Please remember, you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, I would like to make a comment. Committee Chair Patel, there are no public requests for comments on the WebEx. We have no public requests for comments in our in-person location in Sacramento. Would you like me to close this window?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the motion on the table is whether or not to accept the meeting minutes from October 17th. We'll go ahead and take a roll call vote. Neely Patel, yes. Jovita Dominguez?
Jovita Dominguez, yes.
Thank you. Vicky Granowitz?
Granowitz, yes.
Fantastic. That motion passes. Okay, agenda item 4.0 is information only, and it's regarding the advisory committee updates. Then our executive officer, Loretta Melby. Lori Melby, please take it away. Thanks.
Thank you. So this is a standing agenda item for our advisory committees to the board. 2 of them met between the last committee and this committee, and that was the Certified Registered Nurse Anesthetist Advisory Committee and the Clinical Nurse Specialist Advisory Committee. Both agendas for very similar, and so we'll go ahead and cover what were on them. They had report outs from both of the committees. The clinical nurse specialists have a subcommittee on public engagement and website and regulations. The nurse anesthetists have the very similar one, which is public engagement and website and regulations. Both of those had their subcommittees report out on the work that they have done in between the meetings. We are continuing to work on regulations for both the CNS and CRNA and updates to our website. On the clinical nurse specialist agenda, they did talk about the proposed draft regulatory language. They are moving through that process, getting stakeholder feedback, meeting with various organizations, and drafting proposed regulations that they have submitted to BRN staff. I am working with our chief of legislation on that language, and that language, when it gets to a point where we are ready to approve it to come to the board, will have a review by DCA's regulatory council prior to coming to you guys for that. but they are making some really good strides to get that completed. Additionally, with the CNS advisory committee, they kind of discussed the term of clinical nurse specialist and really kind of the role protection of that title. There are many job postings, and in fact, many of the advisory committee members shared that in healthcare facilities that they are either a part of or aware of are hiring people into a clinical nurse specialist role and utilizing that term, and they do not qualify for clinical nurse specialist licensure or hold a license of clinical nurse specialist in the state of California. And so they're doing an active reach out to explain what a clinical nurse specialist is, why they have that title, what the education is to prepare them for that, and the licensure requirements. Excuse me, and their scope of practice, which does vary from state to state. But full practice authority for a clinical nurse specialist does allow them to diagnose and prescribe in various states. And so it is imperative that the titling is protected and that the public is aware, especially if they do seek care or treatment within other states. You want them to be very similar so that there's not any public protection risk. The next one on the clinical nurse specialist advisory committee was a report out from the California Association of Clinical Nurse Specialists. And they talked about future priorities, including national certification exams. The regulatory requirements throughout the nation is that we license based on population focus for our advanced practice RNs, and that those population focus are able to receive a national board certification that is usually done through various qualifications turned into that company that then reviews them, allows for examination, and if they pass, they are then issued this board certification that can be attached to their license. All other states, with the exception of California, require that for licensure. And so it is important that you have the population focuses that are necessary for that care to be provided. CNS is a rare kind of APRN that had all of the population focus, including family, including psychiatric, including women's health, along with their neonatal, pediatric, and adult geri. However, the national organizations stopped offering 3 of those exams. So the current national certification exams for clinical nurse specialists is neonatal, pediatric, and adult geri. So that organization is really pushing to add back the family, the psychiatric, and the women's health. In the meantime, some academic institutions are working diligently to still provide those options, but they're doing it as a subspecialty. So they would obtain their adult geri, which allows them to get national board certification and hold a license. And then they provide additional education either in women's health, in psychiatric, or in family. And so at that point, it does allow them to work in those roles, but again, it's not in a way that is really in alignment with the other advanced practice RNs. So with that information out and their work, we're hoping that that's something that changes in the future and that those national board certifying exams open back up for this specialty. That was the end for the Clinical Nurse Specialist Advisory Committee. With the CRNA Advisory Committee, there was some additional discussion on the licensure requirements for out-of-state and international grads, as well as California. The Certified Registered Nurse Anesthetist can only be licensed in California through National Board Certification. They have a single board certification. They have a single accrediting agency for their initial certifications and recertifications and their academic institutions. And so with that, that is a national requirement as well as a California requirement. They may not be the same requirement for international graduates or international people who have been prepared in other manners to fulfill the role of the Certified Registered Nurse Anesthetist. knowing that, they do reach out and they ask for clarification on what the qualifications are to become a CRNA in California. We do have to direct them back to the national standards as well as California's standards. And that is that they obtain academic preparation through an accredited program, that they meet the national board certification requirements that are required throughout the nation. And then at that point, they are able to obtain licensure in California, but they do have to meet the exact same requirements that everybody else does in the nation for licensure. So that was clarified and put out for there. We will be adding some updates to our website, and we are continuing to work on CRNA regulations that we do hope to bring to our committee and our board soon. And that is the extent of my report out. If you guys have any questions, I am here to answer them.
Thank you so much, Lori, and thank you for your continued hard work with these 5 committees. I know it's a lot of work with each of them, and you know so much about each of them, so we appreciate that. I don't have any questions. Does anybody on the committee have any questions, comments? Okay, great. We can go and open it up to public comment.
Thank you.
We will be opening for public comment now. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember, you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment." Committee Chair Patel, there are no public requests for comments on the WebEx. We have no public requests for comments in our in-person location in Sacramento. Would you like me to close this window?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and moving on to our last agenda, well, actually semi-last agenda item, and that would be agenda item 5.0, and it's discussion and possible action. BRN moderator, if you can elevate Marissa and Stephen, who will be presenting on this, proposed legislation regarding Penal Code Section 236.15, Subdivision P.
And I did make a mistake. I do not believe that Stephen will be presenting on this. This is legislation and not regulation, but we're welcome to elevate him if he chooses to be a part of this. Hey, Marissa.
Good morning, everyone. Right, so I'm going to be going over a legislative proposal that you have the proposed text in your packet in its current form. There are some potential changes that could occur. But first, I want to give some quick background on the current law. Passed in 2021, Assembly Bill 124 requires courts to consider, upon receiving a petition for relief, whether to vacate arrests and convictions that were the direct result of the person arrested or convicted being a victim of intimate partner violence or sexual violence. Now, the purpose of this bill was to allow courts to consider the full context of an incident, in particular, whether the impact of intimate partner violence or sexual violence indicated that the person lacked the requisite criminal intent for the conviction. So if a court is to grant a petition under Penal Code, Section 236.15, which was added by AB 124, then the conviction is essentially dismissed and deemed to have never occurred. So that also would mean that the records of that crime would be sealed and destroyed, and obviously could not be distributed to a licensing board such as the BRN for discipline purposes. So the policy intent of AB 124, we think, is commendable, and we're not challenging or having an issue with it. We think it makes complete sense. However, there was a recent case involving a board licensee that we think highlighted what was potentially an unintended consequence of this change and started the discussion about whether a minor legislative update would be appropriate. So last year we had a licensee that was unfortunately convicted of possessing some child pornography. And as a result, the board moved forward with an accusation to revoke their license. So while the board was awaiting the administrative hearing before the administrative court regarding this accusation, the licensee petitioned the trial court to vacate their conviction under Penal Code Section 236.15, which was added by AB 124. We were not aware that the petition was made, which means that we were not able to provide the trial court with any type of input or feedback from the board's perspective prior to the ruling on the petition. And so the trial court did ultimately grant the petition to vacate, which essentially then again wiped the conviction clear and removed all records, which means that we were unable to use that conviction as a basis for discipline in the administrative court moving forward. So this is kind of how that potential need for legislation or a minor fix came to our attention. So if we pursue an update, we do not want to interfere with the court's discretion or try to override any of that. Rather, the goal is to make sure that the court would have all of the necessary and relevant information that they would need prior to making their ruling. So what the board would be proposing is an amendment that would require a petitioner to give notice of a petition filed under Penal Code Section 236.15 to the petitioner's licensing body only if they are found guilty of a crime that is substantially related to their professional practice. So if there's really no nexus between the crime committed and what their professional practice is, then this probably wouldn't apply. Only when there really is kind of an overlap there. This would then give the licensing body an opportunity to be heard by the trial court before they issue the final decision. Once the final decision is made, everything else would be the same. We're not looking to change that, and we just want to be able to provide some input on the front end if deemed in the area of public protection. So we have found an author who is willing to bring the bill forward, but of course wanted to receive input and approval from the board members as well. So happy to answer any questions and just open it up for general feedback.
And then just to provide some additional information, starting on page 13 of the Nurse Practice Committee through page 16 is the proposed language. The underlined sections are the sections that we have asked to be added. All of the plain text is identical and has not been altered by us. And there are no strike throughs, so we are not asking to remove any language as well. So we are only asking for the underlined sections to be added to this penal code. This was an ask that was presented to us by working with the Attorney General's office when this occurred and this case was brought forward to us, and we were made aware that we were not able to take any action on this, and that a licensee who was in the possession of child pornography is still out there practicing. And so that's what we want to look at in the purpose of public protection going forward, to at least be at the table, to be noticed so that we can be present, so we can say, hey, this is a direct correlation with the licensing duties, and we ask that the court take that into consideration when they make that decision, being perfectly clear that we would not influence that decision, that decision would still be made by the judge that is overseeing that case, and that it is just an opportunity for us to have an awareness of, show up and present our information so that they can take that into consideration.
Thank you, Marissa, and thank you, Lori, for clarifying all of that. Does anybody on the committee have any questions? Okay, I'll go and make a motion to accept with amendments, or to actually I'm making a motion to accept with amendments.
Without amendment. So just
without amendments, excuse me, on the proposed legislation.
There you go.
Regarding Penal Code Section 236.15 subdivision P.
And then
Can I have
if
a second?
approved, you would have
Jovita
to,
I have to read
seconds.
the whole thing.
hang on. We have to go to the if approved part.
Apologies. If approved, please include this authorizes board staff to move forward with pursuing legislation and work with the author's office on language and revisions throughout the legislative session. May I have a second now, please?
Jovita Dominguez seconds.
Thank you, Jovita. Okay, we'll go and open it up for public comment.
We will be opening for public comment now. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. Have activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, I would like to make a comment. Please remember, you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, I would like to make a comment. Committee Chair Patel, there are no public requests for comments on the WebEx. There is a comment and somebody answered it. Is this still the nursing practice meeting? And the presenter replied yes. But sorry for that interruption. There are no public requests for comments on the WebEx. We have no public requests for comments in our in-person location in Sacramento. Would you like me to close this window?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so there's been a motion, possible motion. Neelu Patel votes yes. Jovita Dominguez?
Jovita Dominguez votes yes.
Great. And Vicky Granowitz?
Granowitz, yes.
Thank you. That motion passes. Okay, and then finally, our last agenda item, which is adjournment.
Sorry, Nilu. This
yes.
is Reza.
Hi, Reza.
Apologize for the interruption. On that last item, I just want to be clear. So is that being pushed forward to the board?
Correct. It should
Okay,
be.
so this is a recommendation to move it forward to the board with this committee's
That's
support.
right.
Yeah.
Thank you for indicating that. That's correct. And move on to the February board meeting and the board will approve from, or not approve from there. Yes.
Thank you.
And now we're finally on to our last agenda item, 6.0, which is adjournment. And thank you for this bumpy ride. I apologize. I am clinical today, so I'm juggling a couple things. And anyhow, my head is in two different spaces. So I appreciate your patience. And I am going to go ahead and adjourn this meeting today at 9:33. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you, guys. We will take a
Well
brief
done, Nilu.
break and we will start Education License Committee at 9:45. We will allow for people to come forward and get set up and nurse practice to vacate, essentially. So the Education License Committee is Jovita Dominguez, Trisha Wynn, and Board President Dolores Trujillo. Have a good day, Nilo.
Thank you.
And Vicky, you are able to log off if you want to, or you can stay in the attendees and listen to the remaining committee meetings today. Thank you, guys. And we will open up Education License Committee in about 10 minutes. Thank you.